Imagine if someone asked you to suddenly just go in there and pretend to play a pregnant lady. You watch something on screen and go, actually, that's really convincing. It's good to have that life experience and understand, if I have to be that character, how would I do it? Or how to be an astronaut? Or how do I be a mermaid? Things like that. You've really just got to think on your feet and just be willing to come out of your comfort zone, I think. I just think improvisation outside of an audition is just an important skill to have in everyday life. So, you've got to be able to think on your feet in many situations, haven't you? I think you've always got to go into the audition with flexibility and room to negotiate. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business process, isn't it? It's like an interview for a job, and you want to get that role, so you're going to throw everything you can at it. You have to have that mentality where you can take the rough with the smooth. And I think it's just built into my brain now that you can't win them all. I think if you get some direction or some sort of feedback where they say, we'll keep your name on file in the future, you're not what we're looking for. It's not that you did a bad job, it's just you don't fit the mold. And I think you have to understand that when people are casting, you're not always going to be the best fit for that. And I think I always try and ask for feedback, that gives me some self-belief that I can achieve anything, but it's just down to luck at the end of the day. But I think you can waste a lot of time worrying about why you were not picked for it and miss out on the next opportunity where you could be picked for something. So I think for me now, I really understand that. Move on, there's another one out there, and just keep going and going and going. Don't get held back on that one thing that you didn't get. And
So, hey everyone, I am Ajay Tambe, the host and producer of Create Your Starting Podcast. And today I have with me a cast from our recent series, The Dark Alley. She is an actress from UK. Her name is Allison Weir. Important thing is she has done a lot of theatre plays, loads of theatre plays. I've seen her bio, seen the part that she's played, and she's working in a lot of productions, even playing two characters in one single production. And that's kind of, a bit new for me. And it's kind of a talented artist, what a talented artist can do in one single production. It's kind of a way of showing that she is an experienced theatre artist. She's doing films, short films, and a lot of stuff. But we got connected via our recent series, The Dark Alley, where she was guest reading the part of what's her name? I forgot.
Clara James
in The Dark Alley, and she was in one of the episodes of 7-episode series. And then I came to know about her, and it is wonderful to know about how beautifully she has crafted her way as an artist and the way she's performing today in 2024. We are going to discuss all about how she became what she became and how is journey of Allison Weir is going on now in 2024. Welcome to the show, Allison.
Hi, how you doing, AJ? Great to see you.
I'm good. What's up? Good. What's up with you?
Oh, I'm just waiting for September to get going now. We're into colder season, but all good and very busy.
Okay, all right. So, Allison, you've done a lot of plays, okay? When I was going through your bio, when I was going through all the stuff that, it's filled with a lot of things, okay? It's filled with a lot of productions that you did. So tell me one thing here is, what's your day look like as an artist in 2024?
Oh, completely different every single day. No day is ever the same.
Yeah.
Which is nice because I love variety. So you wake up in the morning and you go and check, obviously, all your emails and you see what's coming in. And it's just really nice because, like I say, every day is just so different. You can't predict what's going to happen. And I always just have a bit of fun with it,
Yeah, got it. And is it filled with, like, how is your schedule filled related to acting, auditions, plays, drama? Is it related, like, do exercises or any prep for auditions, or is there some pattern that you follow every week?
Yeah, I mean, well, some weeks would change, but for the majority, I do have a bit of prep, and a routine to follow. So I do a little bit of yoga. I like to get out for a long walk just to clear my head. So if I've had a busy rehearsal, I like to just try and, get away and have some fresh air. Or maybe if I'm preparing for a self-tape, I just basically go into hibernation for a little bit. So it changes quite frequently.
Got it.
Yeah.
And that's good that you do all these exercises, to keep yourself warmed up all the time. So you're ready for whatever comes to you on that day. And
exactly.
Yep. So is there any productions going on for you at this moment in this year?
So I'm currently working on a piece at the Birmingham Black Box Theatre, which is La Roche, which depicts the story of the only Black passenger who boarded the Titanic. So it follows his journey as an engineer from Haiti, and he's moved over to France where he makes a living before he boards the Titanic. So I play a ruthless landlady in this play, and
Wow.
it's quite a gripping role.
Yeah. When is it coming out? In the month?
Literally in a month. So we've got 3 shows performing middle of October, from the 10th to the
Mm-hmm.
12th of October. So 3 shows for it,
Got it.
Friday and Saturday. Yeah, it's really, really, really good because we've not really ventured into this area before, with the
Mm-hmm.
Titanic. So it's a completely different piece and celebrating Black History Month as well. So it's all good.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. Okay, Alison, help me with the part of you now performing in plays. And a lot of things are going on with you. You are professional now, but take me back to this moment. The time where you first got interacted with acting. I don't know how old were you, but I guess that part where you fall in love. I want to do this, and you're crazy and mad about this part of becoming an actor and performing in a play theater. You just love to be the part of that whole room, filled with actors, writers, directors. So tell me that particular moment, jumping back to your childhood.
I think it started for me at secondary school. I really enjoyed drama, but I auditioned for a play called Gargling with Jelly.
Mm-hmm.
Literally got the role of the mom, so it was a main role, and I sort of got the craving there. I then auditioned for a second play, which I had to give up, unfortunately, much to the annoyance of my drama teacher, because I was following my language career at the time. My French and German, and obviously my academic
Yeah.
studies came into play. So I think my parents would have killed me if I hadn't carried on drama. But
Okay.
that's why I've come back to it later in life, and I've really got the bug for it again in the last few years. I just genuinely think, I can't go without it now. It's like a craving, an addiction, So for me, it's just, I have to be performing. That's just natural to me now, and that's what I have to do.
Okay. Jumping back to the part, how your childhood looked like, as between 0 to 12, we can say. How your childhood looked like at that period? What were the things you were doing in school? How was your day filled with? Can you recall anything of your childhood memories?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I would have done quite a lot of dance as well as a youngster, so I was quite
Okay,
expressive
done.
in my
You were into
movements.
modeling, right? In
I did
early
a little
period?
bit of modeling,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But not at a very young age. I started that
Oh,
later on, but it was mostly dance and performing arts
dance and
and
performance.
school. I
Mm-hmm.
really had a good rapport with my drama teacher, Miss Sandal. I remember everything about her. And I kept a diary as well of how I was performing, and trying to build myself up as a character in Gargling with Jelly, and then other productions as well. So I tried to get involved in the theatre space, basically when I was about 11 or 12. So that's when I first started, really. And I just
Yeah,
got on with
got
lots of different people. I really enjoyed it, and I was very immersed and in the moment,
Yeah, perfectly get it. It was the childhood that led you. It started with dance, and then
Hmm.
you jumped into acting. I guess it's a process of falling in love with one thing, and then it leads to another art
Exactly.
form, and you kind of get into it. Like, okay, I love this, and I'd like to continue with this.
Hmm.
Sounds great. Can you recall that play where not in the school now we are talking about, but recall that particular moment where you thought that, hey, I really want to make career in this field. I think I can do much more damage in this field, and I can make a good living out of this, or I believe this is me. What play was that? What moment was that? Was that an audition, or was that a stage moment, or was that with your friends in college? What was that really took you, no, I think I can lead into this?
It was actually a sort of short film. So it was in 2022, only a few years ago, just shortly after lockdown. I sort of
Hmm.
got involved with some theatre friends, and they put me onto a short film, which was called Leech. And it was sort of
Okay.
confirming really my real passion for acting, because I played a character called Sarah who was living with an abusive boyfriend called Robert and her son
Hmm.
Jack. I really gelled with the cast, and particularly the actor who played Robert, who is now my screenwriting partner. And I found it was a true test of my acting, because it was quite a gritty storyline, and there was
Yeah.
lots of moments of conflict between the characters, not to mention tight filming spaces. So it was quite a challenge for the crew as well as the cast. So that's why it stands out so much. But it went on and did quite well in local festivals. And I thought, this is the moment, I really have enjoyed this, and I want to give it a go for real.
Got it. I guess that really made it like, hey, I want to get it. But now tell me, oh, how did it play a part with you earning, you making money on your own, and filling that financial part of yourself at the same time taking this call? So how was that period for you?
I think really it made me realize, I've done this short film, but I want to keep getting experience and building and just looking at all the opportunities and following those open doors, really. I basically love to be challenged, and I'm open to any sort of challenge, really. I think you've got to be ready to get out of your comfort zone as well. And I think once I'd done that short film and worked with such a different crew and cast, it made me think, actually, I can do anything, and you've got to have that self-belief. That's really important.
Yeah, I guess what you're saying is take that calculative risk, take that big call, and take it at the time that you believe that I think this is a risk, but it's properly calculated. I think I can make it. It's like that big car jump in, what we say, Fast and Furious, from one building to another.
Wow.
and only those guys can say, hey, I think we're going to make to that next building. And I guess it's that call where you think the driver can only think like he's going to make it. Otherwise, it's completely different if you look from the point of view of someone else. Got it. Cool. Yeah. Cool. So now you did the short film, you gained the confidence, you feel like, hey, this is it, and I'm going to make it. So were you graduated? Were you in college? What was that period with you?
I mean, I'd literally just done a course, like a human resources course. I'd finished uni. I just thought,
finished uni. That's important.
Yeah, this was after university. I felt really that I just wanted to break out of that academic mold and do something really creative. So that's when it really started, and I wanted to follow that creative path, to be quite honest. Yeah.
Got it. I guess the part important here is you completed uni. There is a part where actors really jump out after 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. I've been interviewing. That's why I'm calculating where did she take the call, because it's after uni where you thought, no, now I think you can, you really want to make that big call. So once you left uni, we are now going to jump on the part like, how was life after you got in? Was there auditions you were approaching? Were you approaching stage plays, amateur plays? Amateur theater. It goes good in UK. So what were you approaching once you decided? Were you going to read plays? Watch movies or do auditions? What was the next step for you?
After university, so I actually took a job on where I did some commentating for a sporting company. So I did a little bit of, I suppose, I was behind the scenes as opposed to being on stage, and I did a lot of sort of audio work, which I really enjoyed, and that sort of helped me build up my confidence in my voice, and basically enjoy commentary and script writing. So I think a bit of the script writing came in then as well. So I didn't go straight to stage. I sort of had a bit of a back burner from that. But I really enjoyed like the radio side of things as well. So I got involved with friends, and we did radio shows, and we did lots of fun things, behind the scenes. Really, that was the next step after university, was doing that sort of stuff. Yeah.
I guess you were looking to get the reiki of how this thing goes. A kind of work in the background, and I guess a lot of artists start that way, like working in the background behind the scenes. The props, and just being a part of that whole thing. Importantly, you were part of radio plays, radio dramas, and that's different thing, completely different from what it does in front of camera. It's completely audio work. It's different settings. Once you change the whole field, it's kind of settings change. Like you have to check up this background noise, the setting that you guys have, small settings related to audio and all. It's filled with different, but I guess you gain a lot of confidence once you did that, once you're part of how the professional media works. I guess that's it for you. Now tell me, when did you started approaching for films and short films or stage plays, like auditions and all?
It would have been just purely a few years ago. So when I did that first short film, Leech, it would have been around that time that I sort of got the craving to get back on stage. I think having been immersed, with a cast as opposed to being behind the scenes, it then gave me a flavour of actually, I have missed this and I want to get back into it. I started reaching out to local groups in Belfast. I did my first pantomime, which was Mother Goose, about 3 years ago, which was great fun. And then that, of course, being on stage experience meant you didn't have a small cast like you do on a short film. You were obviously dancers. You were with lots of different groups of people.
It's huge.
Yeah, background
artists. Larger than life.
Lots.
It's kind of fest for people in UK.
Yeah, it's a big thing, Panto, for us. And you obviously work with a lot more people and you do a lot more networking. So that's just vitally important as well to obviously open further doors for you as well as opportunities in the stage. Yeah, so it was great fun.
Great to know that. Now we talk about, you started it at the point where you started auditioning, you became a part of pantomime and then plays, and you're working it. Now tell me how you prepare now in 2024 for any audition. Like, what's the difference that you see between you then and you now, and what's the prep for you now in 2024 when a script comes in front of you and they say, hey, this is the character, these are the lines, and you got 15 minutes and show up? What do you do?
I treat it as an educational process, to be quite honest. You've really got to work with everything that you've got. So when they say, there are the notes, you have to go away and dissect them. You don't just read them once. You have to read them, understand what's being asked of you. And obviously, when you do your self-tape, you've got to understand the environment. What is the character that you're going to be portraying? You've really got to take it seriously. Because at first, I was thinking, hey, I'll just read it. And then just, but as I've gone on, I've built up a prep routine. I read it, I maybe come back to it maybe a few hours later and then decide, actually, I didn't understand that. I'm going to go and take another approach to it. When you're doing an audition, I think you just got to have a positive attitude and be yourself. Go in there and basically maintain focus. And in that one moment that you get, and that's your only shot, you have to make that your priority. So just put everything else out of the window for that time being and focus on it purely.
Got it. And is there any, what are the steps that you do to prepare for an audition? Can you tell us more on that?
Yeah, sure. I think it's good to eat healthily. I try and do some exercises before I go in, so I mentally prep myself. And physically, I like to make sure I've got plenty of time to get to the audition. If it's in person, if it's remote, make sure that you're in a quiet space and you're basically mentally tuned in. And I think it's just really important to spend time on that prep. And obviously, everyone has a very different routine, but I always find timing and a bit of exercise and some good food beforehand, make sure that you're feeling awake and happy and fresh, because you've got to be prepared for it. It's as simple as that.
Good. And now, Ali, tell me one thing here is, you talk a lot about, I heard 2 to 3 times you were talking about good food, good meal, have a good meal. Tell me, how are you preparing? Like, what's your thing with having good food? Is there anything that you plan for eating up throughout the week? Or because I guess you are really focused on what you are eating, and that really matters for you to what you're going to perform. So tell me about your thing with food now.
Okay, yeah, I do take my food very seriously.
Yeah,
3 meals a day. I
Yeah.
start with big breakfast because that's your first point of energy. I never go to an early audition without eating food. Bananas, just real good smoothies, a peppermint tea. I like a lot of ginger tea. So I always try and prep with my drinks as well. I'm a big fan of superfoods, so I love broccoli and kale, and I always try and incorporate lots of fruit and veg into my daily diet. I eat a little bit of meat as well, but I try not to be sluggish, so I try not to overeat. I try and get that happy medium of food as well. With a treat every now and again, of course, but that comes at the end of the day.
It's kind of calculated for you. When it comes to food, you should have this much of calories, and I guess that helps you a lot to perform better. And it's kind of good note to take, everyone, any artist who's listening here, is it really matters what you eat and then how it helps you to perform better, with your health, the breathing and all. It really matters, I guess. And that's a good thing that you talked 2 times, or like you said 2 times, the food. I thought, like, hey, I guess there's something here for us. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Okay, I guess we got the part about you on auditions. Now help us with the part of once you're performing on that particular series, you go for audition and they give a part and they say, hey, this is the line, you perform it, and you're now good. Okay, you're doing good. But now suddenly the director or the casting director says, like, hey, can you do this, and can you improve a bit in this, and can come up with some lines, not specifically in a film but also the plays that you're doing, the theater plays. So how do you approach for improvisation during auditions or during plays on set, or when the things are happening in front of public? What's your thing with improvisation?
Oh, I love improvisation, so I'm really glad you've asked me this question. It's one of my favorite things to do. It does depend on the circumstances in which you're walking into the audition. So, for example, if you're just doing a cold read, there's not much you can really do but immerse yourself in what you're reading and how you're reading it. I just think improvisation outside of an audition is just an important skill to have in everyday life. So, you've got to be able to think on your feet in many situations, haven't you? I think you've always got to go into the audition with flexibility and room to negotiate. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business process, isn't it? It's like an interview for a job, and you want to get that role, so you're going to throw everything you can at it. I think it's good to go away and maybe do a little bit of scenario thinking, so imagine if someone asked you to suddenly just go in there and pretend to play a pregnant lady, you watch something on screen and go, actually, that's really convincing. It's good to have that life experience and understand, if I have to be that character, how would I do it? Or how to be an astronaut? Or how do I be a mermaid? Things like that. You've really just got to think on your feet and just be willing to come out of your comfort zone. I think really that's my best approach on it. And I really find it fun.
Yeah. And I guess being a theater artist is what it helps you, performing a lot of plays and being in that in zone of, that you got to improvise, you got to be on your toes, you got to prepare yourself for whatever is going to happen, because any actor can do anything, or you can say anything or just forget at that moment, but it is happening and it is live, and you have to get that done. And I guess improvisation is kind of a tool that you have, what we can say now, is something that you can just take it out and use it whenever you want. And I guess that is what is helping you out, and I guess it will help you out in the films that you're going to do in coming time. And it also helps a lot of supporting artists of yours, because they'll get a lot of help from that too.
Yeah, I think on stage you've always got to be ready for something like that, because if someone forgets their lines, you've got to try and move on from that and not get flustered or stuck. So it's very important that you have a plan B and you can move that process on, definitely important.
Yeah. So now help me out with the part where, first of all, to everyone who's going to listen to this, she's done a lot of plays and dramas. So we're going to talk on specific plays and the versions and the part. So Ali, just help me with, first of all, we are going to talk more on the pantomime, but to listeners, because I came to know about this once I met you, and I read your bio, and then I researched about what a pantomime is. Okay. So for all the new listeners and for all who are going to listen and watch this, first of all, help us with what a pantomime is.
So pantomime is basically depicting a story. It could be a fable or some kind of folklore story, a fairy tale perhaps, and it's bringing it to life in a very visual way. So for example, some like childhood classics of mine would have been Jack and the Beanstalk, even Disney stories like Sleeping Beauty, Puss in Boots, these kind of stories. So very traditional stories that have just been transformed into a visual sort of art. And you've always got the goodies, the baddies, you've got the jester, so someone who can cause a lot of mayhem and jokes, and it's all about bringing the audience into it. It's a very immersive experience.
Got it. And now tell me about you. Are you still doing the tour like at the end of the year, or it's done for this year?
So I will be doing a Christmas pantomime. It's going to be performing in January, but my summer pantomime tour has come to a close, and that was a very big, interesting one this year. Yeah, I had lots of fun with that one.
So that's what we are going to talk about, is the pantomime tour that you did, the summer pantomime, and you played a lot of different roles. Okay, so how was that experience? Especially this zone, what we can say is completely of larger than life. It is loud. First of all, it's kind of loud with expression, the way you're showing it up, and the audience is different. It's like every audience, from what we count is 3 to what we go for 70 or 75. Everyone can understand that, because it's kind of expressing. Pantomime is all about expressing the whole emotion and expressing the situation with the dance, with the emotion, with using your body and using the emotions on the high level. So once you were on it, doing those tours, how did you prepare yourself for preparing such diverse roles? Like, you played different roles. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to check that. It says you played a head teacher to a T-Rex, and you played different characters. So tell me, how was it for you to go through all this? Because even to play one particular character, you have to prepare a lot just for playing one, because it is like expressing at 100 or 120. So how was your experience? What was your prep?
Okay, so first of all, I really just would go back to this in a heartbeat. I loved it so much. You really have to know the script off by heart for a panto from start to finish. So some of the characters I play would start in the very first act, and some would continue, and some would maybe just crop up in the latter part. So you need to know the beginning, middle, and end very well. You need to know all the other characters and understand your timing and coming in and out of the different scenes. because they're very different roles, it made me distinguish them quite easily. So, for example, if you're playing a T-Rex, you've got to have good spatial awareness because I was in this big suit and have to have good timing with the other actors and be able to make some very particular sound effects as well as react to other sound effects, obviously, that are being performed by the sound team. For the head teacher, this was mostly audience participation. I performed a strong opening for the pantomime. So this is to test, are your audience listening? So it's very different to playing a T-Rex. I also played a cave lady. So this was very much a rapport with the main actor. And every role was very different. But I think really the challenge within all of the roles that I played, which was 6 in total, was basically costume changes and timing. The line learning was the easy part for me.
I guess, tell me about how much do you get line and how much is the performance, like comparing to a percentage wise? I guess 20% line and 80% of the whole costume drama?
60% of movement and costume, 40% lines. I did have some singing roles as well, so that had to be incorporated into it. But mostly the costume changes is the thing to be careful of, because obviously your timing, you're coming in and out of scenes. So it really tested your preparation and your confidence, really. You had to just be saying, I'm going to get into that next scene in literally 30 seconds and I will be ready in that character and I'm going to go for it. So no time for nerves at all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's kind of, something that you have to manage. You have to be pro at this, because once you're changing the costumes, so help me with the part where, were you changing costumes, makeup in one single play that was happening?
Yeah.
So how was that process? Like, quick going in, going out, 30, 35 seconds, how much seconds you got, and changing makeup. So how you guys managed? Was there any guy who helping you out?
There was someone backstage who was helping out. So I basically had a full costume change. I was going from a cave woman into a singer. So I played one of the cartoons who sing the Heroes song, and I had a full-on wig, dungarees, had to get a musical instrument and basically just change my whole look from top to toe. So it literally had about 2 minutes, I think, maximum to do that and be back on stage and sing a song. So you don't have any time. You have to just go for it.
Was there any mess up with your makeup any point, like in any play? Were you that calculative about that? Like in the prep, you calculated that, like, I don't want this to happen?
I'll say one thing. It wasn't makeup, but there was a wardrobe malfunction. So I panicked slightly, just one minute of slight panic, where the T-Rex costume didn't inflate because the battery on the side of the fan ran out or something had got stuck. So I called the producer. She was literally nearby, and I said, look, the battery's going here. So she managed to get some backup batteries, and they put me in a different dinosaur suit for that one performance, which was great. And then obviously the timing was a little bit off, but the actor on stage realized there was something going on behind the scenes. But you just have to play it cool and go out there and just sort of, improvise. That's where the improvisation comes in. So,
and I guess
got around it.
Yep. And I guess it helps you out in the toughest situations where you thought, oh my God, what is happening? I guess it's done. I can't do this now. And I guess that's the skill that you got. And I think that, this experience is going to prepare you for something different, that you will think like, oh, these things prepared me for this, I guess, in coming time in big plays. And I guess this format is completely different. It's kind of a fest enjoyment. It's not of something serious happening. It's kind of fun to watch. It's kind of enjoyment, it's kind of a relaxing thing that's happening. So people love watching it happen.
I think for panto as well, it's natural to make some silly errors and make that as if it were part of the script. So the audience don't know any different. And it's more of that was meant to happen. Ha ha ha. You can make it like real fun, and the audience are always enjoying themselves. So
it's kind of liberty that you guys take, on stage, where you think, hey, that was part of the plan.
Yeah, precisely.
And then you go ahead with that. But I guess throughout those plays, I guess this is the part you enjoy the most. What do you say? Being in the store. What do you say? What's your thing with pantomime? How do you rate it when it comes to enjoying the work?
Oh, I don't think I've ever been in a pantomime that I haven't enjoyed. They just are a bundle of fun. Even the people that you're working with are always very different, but everyone who does a panto has just a bit more energy, I think, and you just gel nice with the cast, and it's just fun. And then when you're not doing it, you feel sad. You do get that sort of post-show blues. So everyone, I don't know anyone who's done panto and not enjoyed it, really. You just throw yourself in there and you muck in and you just have a lot of fun with it. So I can't complain about any panto I've ever done. It's always been 100% pure fun.
Got it. So So you played Winston in 1984, a complex character, with layers of inner turmoil. So how was your prep process for something which is really intense, depth filled with the inner struggles, inner turmoils, the darker part of a character? So it's kind of a dark and, filled with a lot of darkness inside uh, that whole life of whatever he lived. Winston in 1984, I guess. That was the name of the play. Uh, so tell me how you prepare once you get such characters, because it's completely different from pantomime. It's completely different from the humor and the happiness and the joy that it gives to people, and it also expresses and keeps you in the lighter mood, okay, throughout that whole thing. But something like this, which is completely dark, what's your prep process for this? What do you do to prepare for such characters, and how do you come up with that, and what's your way of getting out of it?
I mean, I've always enjoyed George Orwell, his works, 1984. So I think to have an interest in it first and foremost, really.
So in short, first of all, before you begin, just help to everyone so they can understand a bit about, in short, about that play, so that will help us.
Okay, so yeah, 1984 is basically George Orwell wrote this book post-war, so in 1940s, predicting how the future would look in a dystopian reality. It follows the story of Winston, who's working for a government party. He basically is in a very mundane job and he works 6 days a week, and he doesn't really fit in with everybody else in society. He wants to do things his way. He has different thoughts and feelings, and obviously doesn't want to be oppressed by government who tell people what to do. And he meets someone called Julia who's of the same mindset, and they try and break away from this very communist sort of outlook on life and want to fall in love, which is against the system and against the rules. So it follows their relationship and how they feel about how they're being suppressed by the government and how they're eventually caught and punished for it. So that's basically the synopsis of the story.
Now you go on ahead with your part.
Yeah. So I watched the film for preparation. I watched the 1984 film, which was made in 1984. And I did a little prep work from watching the film and having read the book and then the script version. So there's very different versions of it really floating around. We were performing the 2021 version, which is a flashback. So it's Winston telling the story of what he did, and obviously before he's sent to prison. So it's basically I'm playing a different version of Winston. So it's Winston's story telling what he did, and I'm basically acting out how he did what he did with Julia. It was a tough role to play. We had lots of terminology to use. So you had double speak, unspeak, newspeak dictionary, the 2-minute hate, the thought police. You had to understand a lot of that and dissect it before you could really understand what was happening in the context of lines. I think because I had a lot of monologues, it was very important to read through these on my own and also with Julia to understand the chemistry. And obviously, when he was frightened, he would speak with passion and allow Julia to listen to him. He would shriek when he saw a rat. He was never afraid to convey his emotions. So I had to embody a lot of that. I think the stage that we used was quite good for this as well. So in 1984, there's many boundaries and conditions under which Julia and Winston both physically and mentally live. So space is restrictive. They basically live in a tiny flat. They can't really go anywhere without being seen by telescreens, which is obviously the government watching everybody and telling them how to behave. There's microphones in the trees when they're going away. Are they being watched? Are they being listened to? So he's always living in fear. And I think all the conflict that was done was what he thought was secret through his words, his memories. He had just a few possessions. So he had his diary, which is obviously a big talking point because that gets found. And obviously that's when the thought police go, well, you think this and you think that. That's not conforming to what we think. So it was really important to take these possessions, these props on stage and work with them. And the little rations that Julia would bring back, have those moments where they could actually celebrate having jam or real coffee and things like that.
Good. And I guess it was a kind of in-depth prep for you. Did that character came home with you, or were you successfully able to put that out once you were out of that character?
I think I had a little bit of depression reading it at some stages in the very early days because you sort of realised what that character's going through and what little he has. And there's no real enjoyment in that kind of lifestyle. But I was able to obviously, separate that after a while because I did one performance of this for a festival, which then got through to another festival. So I performed this twice in 2 very different theatres to 2 very different audiences. So by the second run, I was fully able to detach that feeling of, sort of disillusion and sadness, really. It was a hard role to do.
Yep. So was it affecting on your behavior with people, or some thoughts that some came from your past? Was that past bothering you, or some bad phase of life? What was that happening with you, or were you all clear?
I don't think it was so much that, but I would have said I was definitely more emotional, whilst I
Emotional.
was,
Okay.
yeah, definitely very emotional, very aware, and
Hmm.
probably not as bubbly and fun as what I'd be in a
Uh,
pantomime. So there was very
yeah.
much a difference there, I'd have said, yeah.
That's the reason, because I've been hearing this, when once anyone play this kind of role, like they take a bath of, just to get that out of them. Just they do some different kind of things just to get that character out, because once you're in that part, it stays with you for longer periods. So you have to practice that out. I guess it happened with you too, but in very different way, and it took time for you to, just come out, because it kind of absorb a lot of energy from you too, in order to live inside you. I guess that's where the whole depression part comes in.
Mm.
Good to know that. So help me with the name. It is Lee Stream or Lie Stream?
Lee Stream, yeah.
Lee Stream. We are going to
Hmm.
talk on the part of you being part of Lee Stream.
Hmm.
It's a play, and surprisingly, you took on multiple characters. So this is the part that really interests me. How you prepared?
Hmm.
What were the directors thinking? And what was the point of view of you playing two characters? So first of all, tell us about Lee's dream in short. And you played two characters. One is Karen Fleming, and then James Bentley.
Hmm.
Karen
So
Fleming and James Bentley, right?
yeah, that's correct. Karen Fleming and James Bentley.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your process when you were preparing for these roles, and uh, within the same production? So what were the techniques, the prep process, the discussions behind the drama with the team, in order to play two characters in one single production?
So first of all, Lee's Dream was a piece for the Birmingham Fest. It was written by a co-writing partnership, a mother and daughter who were new to the scene, had never written anything before. This was something that they'd written during lockdown, and they wanted to bring
Okay.
it to stage and bring it to life. So it follows Lee, who has been brought up in the 70s and sort of pursues a relationship that she didn't sort of predict at the time. So she was really in love with another guy called Gray.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes on to have a child with this other guy, but basically he's an abusive partner, and she's trying to break out of her really sort of, let's say, emotional sort of life and this domestic violence by going through dance. So she did a lot of salsa and loved dancing in the 70s. And by the time we get to the 21st century, so the plays in the 70s and also the 21st century, she rekindles her friendship and sort of relationship with Gray. And it's really interesting to see that through salsa. So there's a sort of a real big dance element to this. So the two characters that I play, first of all, I'd only been originally cast for the role of James Bentley. He was a
Mm-hmm.
wacky TV host. And then the role of Karen Fleming came up just by accident, actually. So an actor dropped out a month before show week. And I remember reading him for the role of Karen only a few times during rehearsals. And after about a week of doing this, the director came up to me and said, I'd like you to play her, seeing as you can bring a real bitchy Karen to life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was how it came about. So initially it was just James, and then I ended up doing the role of Karen. And the way I prepped this, so there were two different characters. One was in Act 1 and one was purely in Act 2. But
Mm-hmm.
one was set in the 70s. So Karen's character was all 70s and
Yeah.
James's scenes were all set in the 21st century. So the way I prepped for that really was that I had different actors I was working with, and that really helped differentiate the role. Different accents as well. So Karen
Mm-hmm.
was basically a Brummie girl in the 70s, and we had James in the 21st century as a wacky TV host, obviously speaking quite posh and eloquently. So that helped really, that there were very diverse and different characters and different
Yeah,
time periods.
I guess it was male and female too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that was
Different
completely
costumes,
different.
different wigs.
Yeah. Works. And why? So it's kind of question that puts me into curiosity, is like, why did they decide to go ahead with you with the male character? What was the plan and the discussion and the mindset behind putting you also as James?
I don't think I can really answer that question. I mean, it was Jimmy
I mean, like,
Bentley.
did
Yeah.
you ask them like, hey, why are you thinking of me playing James?
I
That's the
guess,
question I
yeah.
was going to ask.
I did obviously get curious and sort of ask that, but I think when they wrote it at the time, they'd obviously envisaged the TV host as male. And then when I
Mm-hmm.
came in, when I auditioned, I gave probably a wacky audition, and they thought, actually, you do best suit this role of TV host because of my quirky audition. That's all I can think, really. I didn't get a definitive answer on that one, just for the record.
Got it. No problem. Again, now we talk on you playing. You are part of a lot of short films. You did a lot of short films. You performed in a lot of them as main lead character. Okay, so you have experience of performing in front of camera, performing in front of stage. So once you are performing a pantomime, once you're performing a serious drama, okay, so a tragic filled with inner turmoil, so it's filled with a lot of emotions, and now you are in front of camera. So how is your adjustment between stage, screen, the prep, responding to the director, responding to the characters visuals, the way he's going to getting portrayed in front of camera and then in front of stage. So there are point of views changing. That's the part where we talk on stage versus screen. So what's your settings default to something new that you add up in order to change your point of views on, okay, I have to perform in this certain way and here in this certain then frequencies. So what's your play with when it comes to stage versus screen?
I think really you have a different mindset before you go down to the theatre or wherever it is you're shooting. I think for me, with screen projects, you don't get a rehearsal. So you have to have really learnt the lines and explore the character in your own time. And you understand who you're going to be working with on the day, because there's rarely a chance that you get a rehearsal. I think your time on set and between takes is the time you get to know your fellow cast. So it's a very different dynamic. Whereas when you're doing a live show, you have all that rehearsal time and you build up that chemistry. You've had that established with your cast on stage as soon as possible, really. When you begin rehearsing with your scene partners, you do that as much as possible, because obviously doing a live show requires so much more prep, and obviously preparation for space and the logistics that you'll be using. It's really hard to explain, but the approach I take is just mentally and physically. I just flick a switch, in my brain and just say, oh, today I'm doing day one of filming, or, oh, today's my third rehearsal for ... It's just like my brain just adapts to it on demand, really, at this stage.
Is there, what's your prep when it is in front of camera? Do you prep anything like today? Because, once you go through a lot of rehearsals, once you go through a lot of way of preparing for a character for a particular drama, your body and mind tends to perform like that until it receives some different signals of, hey, this is in front of camera. You kind of have to put it low. So what kind of things do you do, or is there anything that you prep so you kind of change your frequencies of emotions when it is in front of camera?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'd say when I'm on set, you'll have longer days. Rehearsals, obviously, you have long rehearsals, but when you're on set, you're obviously building yourself up for a big day. So I think it's particularly important to have eaten before you go out. Make sure you're taking a good bit of food with you. Make sure you've got your script. I just think you're planning more for a longer sort of slog. You can be in there, and I think you just need to have slept better, really, for being on set than you do with stage. I don't know why I say that, but I feel the days are longer when you're filming as opposed to when you're on stage. You come in and out, you're in and out a bit more, whereas when you're in film, you're in it, and then that's you're sort of more in hibernation. You don't socialize with anybody like your family, and you obviously switched off. You're sort of away from the real world a bit more, I'd say. In my opinion, that is.
Got it. And thank you for sharing that, explaining in detail for us. Okay, sounds good. Now we jump on you as a writer. You also do writing in different genres, which is horror, sci-fi, and what else is it? Fantasy. So fantasy, sci-fi, horror.
Yeah.
You also do writing. So and it's not something that you do as a hobby. You write as a professional to help people in the anthologies and all. So how did this started your journey into writing? Because you are developed into someone who can write some professional stuff. Okay, it's not related to hobby or a short story. So how you got started into writing? What was that? First of all, tell us that.
I really started writing when I was a teen. I used to keep a diary as a kid. Yeah, I used to just really enjoy storytelling, at school, amongst friends, with family. I became more and more descriptive, I guess, as I wrote things about the news, and I moved across from non-fiction to fiction. So rather than talking about myself, I then thought, I want to escape my busy life, my busy work, my school life. The more events and things I did, I think the more creative experience I gathered. And that's when I really started doing the whole genre exploring and writing proper fiction.
I guess it was kind of escapism from the real world, and from
Hmm.
the lot of stress and facing the reality kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I guess this genre is kind of escape from the real world. So it's like fantasy, horror, sci-fi. So tell me now, writing horror and sci-fi often requires, building the character, that period, that zone, that tension that's required. So how do you go ahead with, developing a storyline, the world building, the character development, the plot twists? So how do you go ahead with the elements of writing, the story structure, the storyline? The twist is the end, but the character building and the plot and the tension are three things that really puts you, like clinch towards whatever they are going to read, and go through their own psychology. So tell me about how do you plan for this once you take on a horror or a sci-fi thing?
I always have something manifesting in my head.
Okay.
I basically think to myself, I don't want it to stay up there forever. I need to get this out and obviously start bringing it to life. I do a lot of sort of note taking when I've had dreams. I would write down my dreams the next day.
So you remember your
Otherwise,
dreams?
yeah,
Wow.
sometimes. Sometimes they're very vivid and very crazy. And I think,
Hmm.
actually, I can imagine that being in a story somewhere. And I might not immediately put it in, but I have it there and obviously build up a collection of things, ideas, things that even I think about maybe on a train journey or from a very busy day somewhere on set, or I just make these connections and I like to just keep a note of them. I just
Yeah.
enjoy building characters, world building. I think you have to have a start, otherwise your story just goes off on tangents. I think you just need a beginning, a middle, and an end before you can really sit down and start writing.
Got it. And what is the thing that you do as a routine for writing? What's the writing routine for you? Is it morning? Is it something late in the night? Or just having a lot of cups of coffee and then writing? What's your schedule for writing? Like, as an artist, we got some different mindset when it comes to writing. So what's your?
I think for me, you can't force it out. So I might go,
Yeah.
I can't make myself do the writing. It has to be, I want to do it. I can't go, I have to do it today. And my mindset is, if I've got the time to do it, I will sit there, maybe put my friends off for an hour and say, sorry, I've got something happening at the moment and I can't really stop. So once I start, I do find it hard to stop. I'm more of a sort of evening writer, really. I wouldn't do it first thing in the morning because I'm still waking up and doing my yoga and, looking at like my script work and things like that. That comes first, of course. But I find by the end of the day, that's when I'm more creative and wanting to put words down on paper. I'm not a very early morning person. I mean, I can be, but not for writing anyway. I find I
Yeah,
have to have
I
the
get
brain switched on all day and then it starts
it.
coming in, sort of, collecting sort of that creativity through the day for me.
Got it. We are now going to jump on you as a screenwriter. Now, screenwriting is completely different. First of all, this particular thing we call as screenwriting it's kind of different. It's kind of chopped out version of what writing is. It's kind of a lot of edited version where you have to make sure what is the scene, where is it, and what the
Mm-hmm.
character is saying. That's it. If we can put it in short way. So tell me about when you got jumped into screenwriting. Was it just this? What we call as the project that you did. You did some co-writing with another person,
Mm-hmm.
another artist. So tell me first when the screenwriting came into action for you.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because this goes back to my university days. I had to earn some extra credits when I was studying my degree.
Okay.
I happened to be dating a guy at the time who did a film module, and I also signed up because I was quite intrigued. Part of the
Hmm.
module included dissecting elements of the script, for example, Hitchcock's kind of works or Martin Scorsese. And I became fascinated with the technicality of bringing a story to life via a script. So it's very different from
Got
prose, like obviously working in a book. Something about the working within limitations of dialogue and directions, it just fascinated me, really. It's like formula making or like algebra. You've got to make this happen, but you're limited on how many words of dialogue you can use. So it was
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like a bit of fun. I'm no mathematician, but basically you've got to put yourself in the actor's shoes and give them directions and dialogue on a page. And that really fascinated me and challenged me.
Got it. And I guess this part of there's limitations of budget. So it's something that puts us on a commercial part of the project. just the screenwriting, because whatever you're going to write is going to appear in front of screen, or it's going to appear in the background or the environment. So whatever you're going to write is kind of one thing, that how much money you have in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple, and it's that complex at the same time, because you can't take the liberty of, hey, it goes there and there. You have to think of everything while writing. So how
Mm-hmm.
does that part of having a limited budget affects your writing, like in a way? Or how does that kind of puts you in a zone of, oh my god, I don't know what to write, and how you go ahead with that?
I think you have to be aware of it, but at the same time, don't feel you have to work under those rules. So for me, less is more. If you can tell a story which has interesting characters, unusual premise, and basic locations, then you can set yourself up for a better outcome. And obviously, whoever brings it to life decides to bring it to life. I think it helps cut down on costs and obviously avoids limitations when someone's deciding to take on your work. So it helps them then have to avoid finding very complex locations, special effects teams, because of course all that ramps up the cost and time effort. So I think try and use less where you can, but without starving the story. So at the same time, it's a happy medium, I think, really.
Got it. And I guess it's kind of something that is intriguing for you. It's kind of exciting for you, where it helps you put in the zone where you are challenged in order to, hey, I have to do this, but it's challenging for me because I have to use certain things in order to fit this, and it must look interesting.
Exactly.
I guess that's kind of a challenge for you. Okay, good to know that. So now help me with the part of doing the auditions. So we are jumping back to your acting journey now. So how do you manage the rejection? How do you deal with rejections once you get a call and, hey, it was great working with you, it was great knowing you, and we kind of think that you are not fit for the project? Or sometimes you think you did the best performance and you performed really well, but still you didn't got selected because I guess someone else was perfect for this role just by the way she looks, and what do you do when you think you did well for audition, you performed perfectly with the lines and the flow, and you still were not able to get into the list?
I think it's a learning curve. I mean, at very first, I would have struggled to handle rejection, but as time has gone on, you have to have that mentality where you know you can take the rough with the smooth. And I think it's just built into my brain now that you can't win them all.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you get some direction or some sort of feedback where they say, we'll keep your name on file in the future, you're not what we're looking for. It's not that you did a bad job, it's just you don't fit the mold. And I think you have to understand that when people are casting, you're not always going to be the best fit for that. And I think I always try and ask for feedback, that gives me some self-belief that I can achieve anything, but it's just down to luck at the end of the day. So you just have to dust yourself off and move on. It's as simple as that, really.
So tell me, how has that changed? Because now you kind of really structure this part of a way of looking towards audition and how you should take this. How has it changed from the day one where you auditioned and you're not selected? What was your reaction then?
I think in the early days, I would have been taking it a little more personally and sort of going,
Little
why
more.
was I not selected?
Oh, it's too personal.
Yeah, but I think you can waste a lot of time worrying about why you were not picked for it and miss out on the next opportunity where you could be picked for something. So I think for me now, I really understand that. Move on. There's another one out there, and just keep going and going and going. Don't get held back on that one thing that you didn't get, and just don't put your heart into it 100%, because if it doesn't happen, you're not going to be way more disappointed. I think you have to have that sort of set of expectations as well to handle.
Got it. And I guess this is the part where it also is the learning curve that happens once we go through a lot of auditions. It's something that happens once we go through that patch of going through multiple rejections, and that's how we learn it. Otherwise, it's the same of taking it personal for a longer period, because it's a curve that we come to know. Okay, now we get it. What is the actual deal with it? So I guess it happens with time. So that's kind of learning for a lot of artists. Now we held on the part where, what advice throughout your career, you perform in a pantomime, you do the tour, you do a really serious drama, where you play intense character. You play a part in a play where you play two characters in one single drama theater play. Okay, so where you are preparing a lot, where you are making sure that this should look perfect, and then you perform a completely different character in that same play. You are someone who's performing a very larger than life genre, what you can say is pantomime, where you have to be very extreme with your emotions. You have to perform in a way where it should look loud and it should entertain people and it should be fun and sound good and entertain audience, and at the same time you perform in a way where you go and make sure that the character should say less and it should still express more, like less is more kind of thing that you follow. Someone who's been preparing like this stuff from very long time and now is kind of a pro, where she knows about how she's adjusting things when it is front of camera and when it is front of theater. What advice you would like to pass on to the younger ones who are just starting out, or just stuck in the phase where they are doing one genre and they're just looking for some advice, so that may, okay, I get it. What advice you'd like to pass on to the fellow artists, to the artists who are up and coming, and to artists who are just like you and performing, so they can get to know, okay, what's Ali's secret? What advice you'd like to pass on to them?
I would say you've got to be willing to take on lots of different challenges and roles. Not turn your nose up at anything really that you're being offered, because you're absorbing as much experience as you can and you want to get that experience under your belt. You've got to show that you're willing to be involved and muck in. And that's the case for me. When I was starting out, I wanted to learn so much. I was going, I'll take that. I'll do this. Why not? Because you've got to start somewhere. So I think you've got to be willing to accept lots of different challenges. It might not be the role that you want, but it will get you the experience that gets you to the role that you want, if that makes sense.
Got it. And any final advice for theater artists, specifically for theater artists, because you see the whole thing happening in front of you. Okay, you see the ups and downs of theater artists. So what is the one thing that you'd like to pass on, or you'd like to share, or you'd like to go give a tip to specifically to theater artists?
I think for anyone who's starting out in theatre particularly, join lots of amateur dramatic groups, do lots of different scripts and plays where you can. Don't always restrict yourself to one genre. Just try and get different flavours and really build up that sort of chemistry with theatre actors, and just do as much as you can really around those different groups. It might not be a full-on serious play. You might try a murder mystery, or you might try a pantomime, or you might try a two-hander play, or a small cast, and then maybe go on to a musical. So I think it's really just keep going with what you want to do. Don't be afraid to try a different challenge, and basically just enjoy it. You've got to enjoy in that immersive experience being in it. I think really, it's just that's what I think you need to do, really. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you so much, Ali. Thank you for this advice. You've been wonderful throughout this interview. I came to know a lot of things, learn a lot of things throughout this whole period. And one new thing that I learned is pantomime when I met you. So it kind of excited me once I came to know about it. Wow, this looks great. So now we are going to jump on a quick rapid fire, even though you can answer in your piece. It's kind of not that rapid. But here we go. So stage or screen, which do you prefer?
I think it has to be stage. I love the immersive experience. Yeah.
Got it. The most challenging role you've ever played?
Aladdin, because I found singing hard enough as a lady, never mind a man, and I had to improvise a lot in Act 2.
So you played Aladdin?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting.
It was. And it was great fun, but we were very under-rehearsed as a cast because there was a lot of sickness one Christmas when we did it. So I basically improv'd a lot of Act 2, but it was great fun.
Wow, good. Favorite actor you look up to?
You've probably never heard of him, but it's someone called Alan Tudyk. He does a lot of voice work as well as on-screen work, and the guy's a genius on and off screen.
Good. One role you'd love to play but haven't yet?
Winnie Sanderson, I think, from Hocus Pocus, just because she's the ultimate badass, and I kind of like her personality.
Good. A book that inspires your writing?
Oh, I think it would have to be I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison, because it's very dystopian and I love that genre.
Right. Okay. Most memorable moment on stage?
Would have to be not a fun moment, but memorable, being tortured on stage in 1984.
1984. Like it's a play. Oh, a play
George
that you're
Orwell's
talking.
1984.
Okay. Torture. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. What happened?
So aside from Winston, I played a character where I basically was a prisoner, and I basically had my hands, basically hit very hard.
Oh, hit.
Smacked around.
Okay.
Yeah, hit.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. With this, best advice you've ever received as an actor?
Be professional at all times, because you have a brand to maintain.
Brand to maintain. Okay. Favorite genre to write in?
Always sci-fi, because there's no boundaries.
Sci-fi. Are you coming up with some kind of play or drama, or are you writing anything in sci-fi?
I am, actually. So I've got a short collection of stories that will be coming out next year, involving a few characters that crash land to Earth and have to fit in with the local lingo, which is going to be good fun. Yeah. So I can't reveal too much, but I have some short stories coming out next year.
Good. Let me know. I can read that. We can have some fun with our show if that's a possibility. Definitely. We can do that. Okay. Okay. One audition tip in 3 words.
Prepare like mad.
So say again. I missed it.
Prepare like mad. Like mad. Prepare well.
Okay.
Prepare very well.
Okay. Prepare very well. Prepare like mad. Oh, got it. Dream collaboration, director or actor? And who?
Actor. Which? I'm going to say again Alan Tudyk, because acting out some of my sci-fi work, akin to his character portrayal in something called Resident Alien, I see him performing as my protagonist Crab in the most hilarious way.
Got it. Wow. So this was it. This was a rapid fire, Ali. Thank you for answering very quick in a way, and kind of surprised me a bit. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being part of the Dark Alley series, which, by the way, you can go check out the description of this particular episode and check Ali's work in the Dark Alley. Check the series out now. It's, by the way, streaming now, so you can go and tap on the link and check it. Also, everything related to Ali is mentioned in the description of this particular episode, so you can go and connect with her via her mail. So work email, you can contact her, and all the social media links, the work email, the information related to her spotlight IMDb is mentioned, so you can go and check and connect with her. Also, now Ali, help us with the part where what's the best way to connect with you in order to talk about work or anything.
I'm on Instagram, so I'm happily available if anyone wants to reach out to me. You can obviously email me. I'm on social media. So very much happy to network, and looking forward to hearing from you.
Okay, great to know that. Thank you so much, Ali, for being on the show, for your valuable time. Important part was I learned a lot of things from you. I came to know you played some characters that I never imagined someone like a woman can play these kind of characters, and not just one time, a lot of times, and in a lot of different plays. And also at the same time where you can play 2 characters in one single productions in 2 acts, and that was fabulous. The way you go for the characters and the way you prepare for it, it's kind of something that we can study on, and we can take notes on, just copy paste this, and we can be good at what we are doing. So you kind of a pro in the way you perform, you prepare, and you kind of present yourself as an artist in order to go ahead and make a career in this field. Your journey is amazing, learn a lot of things, and I'm sure people who are going to listen to this are going to learn, okay, she prepares this, she does this for audition, this for preparing for a role, and this is what she went through. Thank you so much for sharing all your experiences. It was great.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here, and really enjoyed it. It's been fun and continues to be fun.
Okay, so everyone, this is the last bit where I'm talking about. Make sure you go and check out the Dark Alley series and check Allison Weir's work. It's linked down below, so you don't miss it. The whole series is now streaming, so you can check all the episodes, listen to them, review them, and let us know in the DMs, in the comment section of our Instagram. And yep, that's it. It's me, Ajay Dambe, the host and producer of Create Your Ears Podcast. And now I'm signing off.